Hi, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm Terry with Morning Dewdrops by Terri Stevens, and welcome to the Art of Doing show with JRV Retailers. Did you know that you do not have to be an artist to paint? You can create stunning home decor pieces using JRV Stencils and Decoupage very easily. And today we're doing it and stenciling the Bloomsbury Way. At least that's what I'm calling it. That's where I got the inspiration. We're going to be stenciling over stencils and aging the piece with subtle variations and nuances in the color of the paint. Not only that, but we are also going to East Sussex, to the Charleston House, to inspire us even more with colors and stencils. We'll also take a look at some of the current trends for those in the business, and we'll take a trip to a booth we are currently in the process of moving into to see our three-piece vignette. And the fourth piece would be this mirror. And we have a small bookcase, a small desk, and a chair. We got our inspiration from, this is one of the books I have, and it's the Charleston House, the Bloomsbury House and Garden. So before we do that, let's take a look at our palette. We started with a black. And we took that black and we did either a gray color wash over it or a gray patina. We stenciled in one color with the light dove gray, and over that we stenciled with a deep medium blue. And that's what we have on our mirror. We used the JRV Mama's Damask stencil, and we used the Giselle, and we put this one on randomly, but you can see that these two would go together because they have the same swirl type design. So you can mix and match any of these stencils. Of course, we used our JRV stencil brushes, and we decoupaged the back inside of the bookcase in the JRV teal damask. And the patterns blended quite well. And we actually chose a dark palette. And I normally don't do that, but I wanted something moody. So with that, the here it is. What is or who are the Bloomsbury group? The Bloomsbury group was a group of friends that met in the Bloomsbury district of the West End of London over 100 years ago. And they acquired a country home called the Charleston House. They were artists and writers, and they made their own stencil. They made their own paint, and they stenciled everything. I mean, everything, as you are about to see. I had to make a list for you. It just kept going. They asked themselves, why can't we paint our house differently? So, of course, our hashtag is you just got to do it, so we're going to do it. You'll notice that it's very boho, but whether you're eclectic or minimal, you will find inspiration, even if it's a pillow or a tile or a piece of pottery. So let's go to East Sussex and view the Charleston home. Also, all of the images I got off of Pinterest, and I've made a Pinterest board, and I've linked that information in our first segment. And here it is. The Charleston house was the country retreat of the literary and artistic Bloomsbury group and offers us inspiration for creative interiors. A little over 100 years ago, a group of artists and writers known as the Bloomsbury Group, most meeting from Cambridge, consisted of 10 men and 3 women, and the women were of equal ranks, and they all opposed Victorian standards. These are a few of the members, and Virginia Woolf and Vanessa Bell are sisters. Virginia often visited Charleston and loved the garden room. The Bloomsburys painted on everything, with no set plan on any given room as far as decor. The walls were first painted black, covering up ugly wallpaper. Most of the painting in the Charleston house was done by Vanessa Bell and Duncan Grant. They stenciled and painted, and they even did so on rugs. Should you not be so bold as to stencil your walls, you could do it on a smaller piece like this tri-fold wooden panel. While making repairs, the Bloomsburys discovered that the house was as old as Hamlet. They painted doors, floors, furniture, canvases. They even designed their fabrics and worked with pottery. I'm inspired by the colors they chose, especially from the stenciling on this wall. I used some of that creation in what we're going to learn today. But notice the stenciling even shows underneath that pink color on the dining room table. The Bloomsbury group was influenced by Matisse. Notice the play on pattern. Their stenciling was not perfect. So remember, perfection is a falsehood. You'll never get started if you think things have to be perfect. And this group rejected materialism and often worked with inexpensive pieces or repurposed pieces. And they thought, why can't we paint our house differently? These are images in parts of their studio. And Vanessa Bell's granddaughter stated that the Bloomsbury group lived in nicely messy. And it was their lifestyle. They also worked on tiles and had buku collections. I bet this made them happy. Most of the paint colors are muted that Duncan and Vanessa used, but they made their own paint using white chalk as a base, which gave the paint body. They then added pigments and rabbit skin size as a binding agent, but it wasn't very good. Thank goodness for DIY Paint Cottage Color Collection with JRV. Duncan and Vanessa also made their own stencils out of paper and used a sponge to apply the paint.
Again, thank goodness for JRV Stencils Decoupage and stencil brushes. Art and home decor styles seem to recycle, and by the 1950s, this type of art was no longer popular. However, the Charleston House was restored in the 1980s and opened to the public in 1986 with great enthusiasm. And the 2020s bring us back to enjoy Bloomsbury life with eco-friendly and sustainability, and working with and repurposing pieces, vintage pieces, to tell a story in our home and to make us happy. We're excited to use our JRV stencils and paint by being inspired by the Bloomsbury Group and Charleston House.
I just love that. So, all kinds of colors for you to look at, all kinds of stenciling that they did, and they weren't perfect. It was perfectly imperfect. And that's the beauty of it. They had a joyous chaos of color and collection that told their story and their home, and that's what we love all to do, and you can too. So, in our next segment, we're going to be stenciling, and over that, stenciling, and we're going to be creating some nuances of the depths of the color or where something may have faded or worn. We will decoupage. And did you know that their lifestyle has become our lifestyle? Theirs was out of necessity, more than likely, the inexpensive pieces and the acquiring of stencils having to be made and the paint, whereas we've come full circle in the 2020s, and we as a planet need to be eco-friendly, sustainable. We throw away 12 tons of furniture in the United States every year, and that has increased 450% since 1960. What used to be maybe a trend for your thrifting or repurposing or vintage has now become a lifestyle, and will continue to do so by adding the old with the new. Let's see how we can add color. And I chose Moody. Now, I have a lot of black pieces in my house. It's not that I don't care for darker colors or darker wood, but I'm not drawn to them. However, some people say that you should have at least one dark piece in each room. It helps ground it, and you do get a moody effect, and that is what we were going for when we worked on our pieces that we're fixing to show you. So let's take a look at how we got this done.
We are using Mama's Damask and Giselle JRV Stencils by Mara from Vintage Retail Therapy. We are stenciling with a Mama's Damask on the side of a small bookcase, mid-century, and we are using a Dove or light gray. When you are stenciling, be sure to always offload, but at the same time, a drier brush will give you, of course, lighter stencils. So we did this in certain areas so that our finished stenciling has a ghost effect. Some are darker than areas than others. We went down the complete side of the bookcase and we let this color dry before we take our next stencil and stencil over some of this damask. Here we have the other stencil, and we're using a deep blue. You can see on the left side where we've already done some of this area, and this will create like it's been worn over time, and it gives it somewhat of a faded look. We do this randomly, but then the patterns are so much alike that it does not affect the overall pattern. And here you see the finished stencil bookcase side of overlapping or overlaying the two stencils in areas. Next, we take our paint and water. There is some glaze on the side of the plate. The paint is like 50-50 with the water. Go in sections, and what we're doing is we're aging this bookcase along the sides. It would have been handled more, and the middle would be lighter. You can use the glaze, I'm using it here, in certain sections. It would give a different hand to the finish, and we all know over time furniture tends to age in certain ways in different areas of a piece. And I'm wiping back the water and the glaze to get the shadowing effect. And here are the finished results that we just completed using these techniques in what we are working with the Bloomsbury. And now on to the decoupaging. We've already applied 2 layers of our decoupage medium, applying them in opposite directions, allowing each to dry in between. And once it is completely dry, we lay down the decoupage paper and iron over it with parchment paper with a dry iron medium heat. For extra protection against moisture, we're applying another coat of the decoupage medium on top of the decoupage paper. Once that is dry, we will put down our parchment paper again and iron our decoupage paper in the same manner that we did before. You can see that the section on the right, or the second section, has bubbles. This will bubble, but once you iron over that sealed protection that is dried, the bubbles will go away and it will be completely one with the wood. Here is the finished piece with the decoupage in the back of the shelves, and you can see the subtle variations in the paint with the stencil over stencil technique, and how the color wash and glazing added to the age of the piece along the edges.
Okay, so that's our bookcase, and we're going to go to view the pieces all together in our booth that we're currently moving into. That's about all we have in the booth we're currently moving into, but we have it. So, the trends of today repeat themselves, and there's a recyclability of trends and or of the market. But I gathered this little bit and I printed it out, and I'm just going to go over these points with you because I found them impressive. Online searches are up by 50% for upcycled pieces. The prediction of purchases for secondhand vintage furniture will reach 27 billion by 2027. People are looking for truly one-of-a-kind pieces that tell a story, and people are purchasing vintage pieces so that they don't fill our landfills. In the next segment, we'll check all that out. Plus, there's a little tip on color for 2023 And then you're going to see a sneak peek on what my husband and I, Jimmy, are currently working on. I think it's adorable. So let's go to our new booth.
Our Moody Blues drop station 3-piece vignette has a chair. This is our booth that we're moving into. We've only just begun working with it last week. We put a hole in the back of it so that you could bring your cords through to charge your devices. Sometimes these pieces look blue, sometimes they look gray. The darker blue would be where we added the glazing. The pieces were stenciled to show aging over time. Each piece turned out differently. And you can see the striations that were made by using the gray patina or a gray color wash over the black paint. Our tags tell our story and how we created these pieces, because we also have another booth in the store with our JRV Stencils and Decoupage. Part of the story for these 3 pieces is to let our customers know how they can use them in their home as a Moody Blues book nook or as a drop station, perhaps near an entryway. In a recent article for Martha Stewart Life, we found that color is essential going into 2023. Eye-catching painted furniture and decor. And we went with 5 shades of green after being inspired with the Bloomsbury greens at the Charleston House for our next project. And since geometric patterns are so popular, we started with the JRV Diamond Stencil. This is a Queen Anne desk that we just got started with. And look at all the variations. We haven't sanded yet and some of it isn't dry, but this is going to be very pretty. We have completed the chair though, and she is stunning. And we used some of the same techniques that we learned today. The smaller diamonds are from the Harlequin Diamond Stencil. We used the color wash technique and the glazing technique as well as others. The painting definitely has some wear on it with other colors coming through. We painted and stenciled the entire cushion on the chair, but let some of the original pattern show through in areas the way the Bloomsburys may have done. This vintage piece definitely has a story to tell.
Here's the chair. Here's part of the chair. She's so pretty. And we're going to, right now, her sister, the Queen Anne desk, is curing, but she'll go in the new booth next week. And we also did a painting. So whether you go with your Moody or your darker colors, or you go with some bolder colors with geometric patterns, you are going to do great with JRV Stencils and Decoupage. Until the next show, which is the first Tuesday of every month, noon Central Standard Time, right here. Enjoy your Valentine's Day. Jimmy and I got some painter suits. They came in, the kind that are washable. And we've got a sprayer and a spray tin. And we can't put it up yet until we move some stuff out of the way. But we're going to put on our painter suits and our painter's caps, and we're going to take a picture. So if you want to head on over to our Facebook page later on today, you'll see a couple that are very much in love, and also love. You just got to do it. The art of doing. God bless. Bye. This was so much fun.